So there's a federal court case going on at the moment over dark money in politics. And that basically means that in some instances, big money donors don't have to be transparent and you don't get to know who's buying your politicians. So you can buy politicians and we don't even know who the fuck they are. So you can't connect the dots and say, oh, I see why they push for policy X because this person gave them money and they have a vested interest in policy X. Well, there's an attempt to change that, but U.S. District Judge Manuel Real just slapped it down. And now there's going to be an appeal. So what was the judge's argument to rule on the side of the Koch brothers in this instance, by the way, and to say, oh, yes, you get to buy our politicians and not even let people know that it's you specifically buying our politicians? Well, this is what he says. The AFP Foundation, that's the Koch brothers group, its employees and supporters face public threats, harassment, intimidation, and retaliation once their support for an affiliation with the organization becomes publicly known. And although the Attorney General correctly points out that such abuses are not as violent or pervasive as those encountered in NAACP versus Alabama or other cases from that era, this court is not prepared to wait until an AFP opponent carries out one of the numerous death threats made against its members. All right, so you know what that means? They're using a 1958 court decision that protected civil rights workers to shield big money donors from transparency laws. It doesn't get any lower than that, man. So, back in the day with the civil rights movement, obviously violent threats nonstop if you're a civil rights worker, people, constant stream of death threats to the NAACP. And so anybody who was a part of the NAACP, anybody who donated to the NAACP, like, okay, this is a special instance where the death threats are credible, and we've seen the murders and the lynchings and stuff, so what we're going to do is we're not going to have transparency for that. So it's not like if you donate to the NAACP or to civil rights groups that your name it goes on a list and everybody knows who you are, because then that really does threaten them. Well, now they're saying that's the same thing for Americans for Prosperity, which is the Koch brothers group that buys politicians. They say, oh, there's so many death threats against them, and obviously the liberals and the progressives that are angry at the Koch brothers are so violent. They have such a track record of violence that, we need to make sure that we don't do transparency so we don't know who ends up buying our politicians. The court cases in the United States on money in politics have almost all the decisions have been comically stupid. Like, over-the-top stupid. We covered this story about Bob McDonnell, the Virginia governor, the other day, about how it was a unanimous decision. Yeah, that's not bribery or corruption. Dude, a businessman gave him a Rolex, gave his wife shopping sprees, let him use his vacation house, and gave him cash, over $175,000 worth of gifts. And they're like, yeah, no problem there. Businessman giving a politician all those gifts, he's doing it because he likes him, not because he wants something in return. And they're actually, in the articles, they say, in return for government favors. The Supreme Court's like, yeah, but there wasn't a quid pro quo where you have them on tape in a room saying to each other, I will give you money and you will do favors for me. Therefore, oh my God, you're interpreting bribery in such a broad way that almost everything is bribery. Therefore, free to go. So politicians can take gifts from whoever the fuck they want and do favors for them. But as long as you're not on tape saying, this is the exact favor I will do for you, it's not corruption, it's not bribery. What are you, stupid? That's the ruling that they made. In Citizens United, one of the justices famously said, not only is this not corruption, this isn't even the appearance of corruption to have big money in politics. And then they go as far as, oh my God, they have the nerve to make the argument, well, this is just the politicians responding to their constituents. What do you mean? That's good. That's democracy. You're missing the obvious counterpoint that if money equals free speech, then by definition, the people who are the richest in the country have the louder voices. No longer does a grandma in Cleveland have her say, and no longer is it one person, one vote. You're meaningless if you're poor, and you're not donating to politicians. And if money equals speech, as they've ruled, well, then that means that, for example, I can buy prostitutes. Why wouldn't I be able to be? It's not me paying for sex. No. Money is speech. So I'm giving money to let people know I'm expressing speech as to how much I enjoy sex. That's all that is. All drugs should be legal. Why? I mean, look, when I go pay the cocaine dealer and get cocaine, no, all I'm doing is expressing speech. Remember, money is speech. I'm expressing speech to somebody about how much I like cocaine. That's legal. money equals speech, I thought, right? So murder for hire, what do you mean? It's speech. Money is speech. I'm paying somebody to murder somebody, but I didn't murder them. I'm expressing speech. Remember, money is speech. Speech as to how much murder maybe should be legal. You're allowed to say that. Beyond ridiculous. We have a two-tier justice system. The rich get away with whatever the fuck they want. We have an oligarchy now, not a democracy. And then they make arguments like this and expect us to take them seriously. Like, you expect us to take you seriously when you just compared the fucking Koch brothers and their organization, which subverts democracy, to civil rights workers? Get the fuck out of here. We're done with this. Wolfpack is coming for you. You know what Wolfpack is? Wolfpack is the movement to get money out of politics. We're going to get a constitutional amendment by going through the states and make it so that we mandate clean elections by law. No more private money in politics. It's all publicly funded. When it's publicly funded, what happens? Politicians have no choice but to represent their donors. Who are their donors in that case? The people.